Hello everybody, so today I'm going to be making a Team Skull cosplay. I am making the female version of Team Skull. So just to show you guys what I'm doing here, I bought a black tank top from Walmart. This is a thick tank top on the strap, and this was about $5 and change, probably around $6 with tax. And what I'm doing is I'm adding a white neckline because if you have seen the pictures of Team Skull, her images have a white rim around the neckline. So the shirt is a stretchy fabric material, but for the neckline I just went ahead and grabbed any fabric that I had, which I believe is the skirt liner that they use for like under dresses. It's just what I had on hand, but if I were going back to do this again, I would actually be using stretchy white fabric that is normally used, for like just apparel. So just a heads up. But like I said, I just went ahead and did that. What I'm actually using as a template is the tank top itself had a black rim already on it, so I'm just pinning the white fabric all the way around. The way I found out how thick I wanted it to be was just by figuring out how thick that strap was, so I used that as my template. So as you can tell, I sewed both the top and the bottom just so I could have double stitching, and I wanted it to look very nice. So that's what I'm doing right now. This did take me a little bit of time, but honestly this shirt, I was able to complete it in less than an hour. I would say maybe about 30 minutes. For this portion, I would say it took me about 20. So as you can see, I'm just going and cutting the excess fabric in the inside right now. And the reason I say, use apparel fabric, which is a little bit more stretchy, is because once I made the collar, as you can tell, when I did stretch it out earlier, it kind of looked a little bit more wider, just because I pretty much sewed it while it was a little bit stretched out, so it looks a little bit odd, but it works. So like I said, right now I'm just cutting all the extra fabric away. Alright, see, there we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and sew this other piece of fabric that I cut out. This piece is actually for the X that they have on their t-shirts. So what I did is once again, I grabbed another piece of fabric. I cut it down by probably around 2 inches, and then I just folded it in half. Afterwards, I went ahead and just sewed the correct sides together, and went ahead and just sewed it all the way through. This is going to be used for the front and the back, so I'm just doing 2 different strips. I believe I went ahead and I did 4, but we will see. So I put on the shirt because I do not have a dress form, unfortunately, so I'm doing it all the way around. So yes, I did do 2 strips. So this is the first part. I went ahead and I folded it, and I ironed it actually with my hair straightener. That is the fastest way for me to iron fabric, is with my hair straightener when it's just a quick crease. So I'm going and folding that right now. This does take me a little bit because I do need to pin all the way around. Even though I am ironing, I still want it to be perfect when it comes to the X. So just go ahead and pin all the way around, and this fold is about half an inch to about 0.75 inches. And while I'm sitting there, as you can tell, my neckline is a little bit odd, mainly because of the stretch. The fabric I did use did not have any stretch, so when I was making this X portion as well, I did take that into consideration after I made that neckline, that this will have to be a little bit more loose, so I did end up making it a little bit longer, and I gave myself a little bit more give. So now that I have all the pins, I'm going to go ahead and put it across my body. I went ahead and I pinned the top first, almost at the bottom of my bra. So once I measured that out, I pinned it onto the shirt, and then I went ahead and I pinned the bottom as well. So tried to make sure that I created that X, and then I actually went through the back. So through the back, I went ahead and I had extra fabric. I cut that extra fabric and I said, hey, I could go ahead and use that for the rest. So this is just part of the X. That's the first cross. So now that I have that set, I'm actually sewing that on. So this is going to take a lot of patience because there is stretch in the shirt. There's a possibility that the X will be crooked. So you got to try your best to not stretch it so much, but since I am not using stretchy fabric or apparel fabric as it's called, I did have to go ahead and stretch it a little bit, risking that the X will be a little crooked. So that is pretty much what I'm doing right now. If you are using apparel fabric, I don't think you should have to worry about that too much. Just make sure you maintain the X in portion with the pins where you put them. Try not to stretch the shirt too much because then the shirt will fit you a little bit too big, but if it does, that is okay. Because Team Skull technically is like, the bad guys, they got looser shirts. Even the men have the looser shirts, so it's totally fine. So same thing that I did on the collar, I'm actually doing a bottom stitch and a top stitch. Just want to look really nice and I want it to be secure. And I'm just using a regular straight stitch for this. So I'm gonna go just all the way around. And I did prick my fingers a couple times doing this just because I had to try to maintain the line straight, which can be a little tough when it comes to apparel fabric like this. So now that I have that done, I do have my 1X. So I need to go ahead and lay out my shirt, make sure to see if the X matches on the other side. And this is for the back, by the way. Because it actually went a little wonky once I took the shirt off. It was hard to take it off because, like I said, it's not stretchy fabric. It's just regular, like underneath the skirt type fabric. So I kind of took a guesstimate. All right, where was my shirt before and all that? Still giving a little bit of give, but because it did fit me exactly when I had it on, I did the assumption of I don't need to worry too much about it not fitting. The only reason I wasn't able to take it off with the pins was because it is just pinned on. It wasn't sewed on, of course. So now I'm going and sewing in the back here. Same thing, doing both seams. And just so you guys know a little bit, a lot of my cosplays are not made with patterns. I know a lot of cosplayers and just a lot of people in general that do patterns, like paper patterns. I've never been able to do paper patterns. I've tried it before and ended up messing up. I think I've done a paper pattern once, and eventually you will see me use a paper pattern. But overall, I prefer just to kind of eyeball it. I know it's not the best way to do it, but hey, I'm starting. Eventually I'll do paper patterns. I just feel like they get kind of annoying sometimes, and I don't have the space nor the paper. I try to use just whatever I have available to me, and honestly, it works for me. So it's totally fine. If you don't have any patterns, that's fine. If you do, then definitely by all means, make a pattern and do it that way if that's how you want to do it. Alright, so the stitching does take a little bit of time because I did have to do the all the way around front and the back, and I had to actually connect both of the ends at the very end at the seams of the shirt. I would say this X took me about another, I would say actually 30 minutes or so, just because 15 minutes aside, with the pinning portion maybe a little bit longer. But there we go. There's the first X. The first part of the X actually made it pretty straight on that one. So here's where it gets a little tricky because you are doing the same thing. You're making the strip out of the same fabric that you were using before. Just fold it about 1/2 inch, and once it's folded all the way, pin it. And if you want to iron it, feel free as well. This one I was just like, alright, I get it. Let's just go ahead and pin it. and I didn't want to go ahead and iron too much. So from here, you will see that I'm going to actually attach the X's together on the shirt because I am still wearing the shirt, as you can tell. Sorry, this pinning process does take a while because it does go all the way to the front and the back of the shirt. Alright, we're finally at the end. So I went ahead, same thing, probably at the bottom of my bra strap, and then went ahead and started doing the X. So this is where it can get a little complicated. So you can align it properly in the middle, but because I did not have that stretch fabric, there's a possibility I can mess it up. As you can tell, that first X is kind of right underneath my boob. It actually needed to be a little bit lower. I needed my boyfriend to kind of hold it there for a second because I kept having trouble pinning it. Because I was gonna have to take it off this time and try to figure it out. So I really wish I had a dress for him. Eventually. But as you can tell, that X keeps once going down. Alright. So back at the sewing machine again. Alrighty. Oh, there's my kitty's foot. You see my kitty's foot right there? So same thing, I am going to go ahead and do the X all the way around. So here is one of the toughest parts, and I had a lot of trouble properly lining up both X's. You might think that the X is right in the middle, but unfortunately with this stretch fabric it is not. At the very end you will see that my X kind of came out really crooked. I was kind of sad about it, but it honestly looks pretty okay. And like I said, the X was actually supposed to be lower, and I did not do that. But hey, a cosplay is a cosplay. We have our good ones, we have our bad ones, but overall, when the outfit's together, it looks pretty good. So, just sewing back up the other X here now. Well, the other side of the X. Alright, so I'm at that connection seam, so now I'm going to go ahead and connect both corners there at the seam of the shirt. Excuse my cat in the background, she keeps going around all of my microphone here. Alrighty, so it looks like we're at that middle portion. Oh man, this shirt was something else. But like I said, if you're looking for a very quick and fast cosplay, I would definitely do it. I would say, see, it's a little crooked, but it's okay. So when you put it all together, it looks pretty okay. This is just the shoes and the socks. But I hope you guys enjoy and continue watching other videos for the rest of the cosplay. See you guys.